A hunter that holds the line. Here's your look at the new Hiya Toys AVP Temple Guard Predator Exquisite Mini. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya Toys. There's been plenty of Predator going around on this channel as of late, with more to follow as we get a closer look at the Temple Guard Predator provided to us from the folks over at Hiya Toys. Before we get down to details here on the figure, let's bring in the ruler. Temple Guard Predator stands at around 4.5 inches in height, maybe just a hair taller than that, and it's about 11.5 inches tall. Just recently, in fact, we've had a look at a whole bunch of Predator figures, so we're going to move over Temple Guard Predator. And while he's not really from AVP, he certainly is part of the P. Here's Predator. Now, this was regular Jungle Predator battle damage version, even though it's not really a lot of battle damaging happening here. But kind of gives you at least an idea. As we certainly have looked at enough AVP in the past, I wanted to at least show you guys the difference of build. Even though now the newer Predators that Hiya Toys are putting out are bulkier looking Predator figures, still, when you compare the two, it almost seems like the Jungle Hunter is a lot skinnier of a Predator when you compare it more to the more massive-sized Predator that we're getting here from Temple Guard. Temple Guard Predators claim to fame as well, in case you were wondering. Those are the flashback Predators that we see defending the top of the pyramids, while the thousands and what seems to be thousands of xenomorphs are making their advancements. Of course, ultimately, we know what ends up happening to the Temple Guard Predators, but at least they're captured here finally as an Exquisite Mini. Let's have a look at the accessories that come included with the figure. Starting first, as we've already certainly covered off this territory in the past, Temple Guard Predator comes included with, surprisingly, not actually the muddy terrain as we normally would see with a lot of the Predators released from Hiya Toys, but instead, actually, a display base, a display stand that we normally come to see when it comes to alien figures. I don't know why they would have included this. It would have been nice, in fact, that they could have come up with a third type of display stand, sort of mimicking the stone you would see from the pyramids. Anyways, at least you get yourself a display stand, and like all the other cases before, you flip the stand up and locate it on the bottom. You take these eye brackets. I know, it's territory we've already covered. You take these eye brackets and you slot them in anywhere that you want, really. And you take then multiple display stands and you can attach them together. That's one of the charm I find of these display stands, is the fact that you can expand onto them. I mean, yeah, you could easily just take stands and line them up next to it, but the idea of actually attaching them makes them a little bit more permanent. I'm going to move that to the side. As for the rest of the accessories, the figure comes included with is a Predator Shuriken. Really nice detailed. Small, yes, but detailed, yes, as well. As you can see, it looks like it's probably been sculpted in silver plastic and then washed on top of it a darker black. It's detailed just as much from any of the sides that you see. It also comes included with a hand that does the job of holding the shuriken. As you can see, the grip is a little bit smaller on this particular hand, and that slots the shuriken pretty well in place. I wouldn't want to shake it too much for the risk that this could drop onto the floor, but at least you can see, yeah, it holds the shuriken perfectly fine. Another hand that also comes included while we're on the topic of hands is just a regular gestured hand. Always happy when we get more of these. Very much a darker color happening on the top of the hand, more of a lighter color on the interior palm. Again, we'll put that to the side. And then the Predator comes with two variations of combi stick. The combi stick is the spear, of course, the Predators are using. One is the more retracted variety, and one is the more compact styling of it. They don't seem too much different from one another, other than the more compact design seems like it's more of a darker coloring of gold that they've used. You can see other than that, I mean, it doesn't look that much different from one another, just more folded up. Entirely up to you as to which one you would like to use. The figure itself, picking it up right now. On the back, there is a clip. Now, I have had problems in the past where these clips have broken off, so you want to really tread cautiously. You want to take then the combi stick and just attach it onto it. If you find it's too thick and it's not budging, you can also move the combi stick a little bit further down. So instead of actually having it here in the handle, where I think that's the most likely to break, if you had it a little higher up, it's not as wide, and it would do a better job of holding combi stick in place. I'm going to put those to the side as well. Getting now a closer look at the Temple Guard. The one thing about Temple Guard is he's quite armored up. Of course, if he's going to have to keep and hold the line, you'd like to think at least this Predator has the armory and the weapons to do the job. Not only does it have the more traditional plasma caster shoulder-mounted cannon, which of course is all a backpack piece that goes onto the torso. It is a longer, it seems as well, actual plasma gun. As you can see, it's a little bit longer than maybe some of the smaller variety that we've gotten before from the jungle hunters. It's much longer. It does have poseability in 2 places, actually. There's a knuckle joint right here, moves this back and forth. And then there's a secondary knuckle joint right here, where really you could also kind of have this folded down. And there's, of course, also articulation up here as well. I don't know if you can kind of gauge that also just from the size of my thumbs as I'm doing this whole time. How small is that? It's so tiny, the fact that they are actually even still able to incorporate articulation in these. But not only, like I said, does he have that, but Temple Guard also has quite long blades. Not only does he have the more traditional gauntlet blades down below. Now with these gauntlet blades, they don't seem to extend out, nor do they retract in. It seems like they're permanently molded in place. But then he's got this very long cutting blade that's just onto the top of it. If he ever had an itch, I would hope to think he's not using this hand to scratch himself. He probably would be cutting himself in the process. But very long, devastating looking blades, of course, to defend against the xenomorph threats. How that bit of an outbreak happened is beyond me. Of course there was human sacrificing back in the day, and they would have had, of course, hosts to carry the eggs. But how it would have got out of hand like that, and that many aliens get broken out like that, where the predators would have to defend against that, I could certainly see why they would have activated their detonating device, which, as you can see, is on the predator, but there's really no way to access it. It's all molded shut. For the size of what we're dealing with anyways, it's not like I would expect this to be something that would open up. If anything, it would be susceptible to breaking, but at least it's there. You would just have to imagine it's underneath that panel piece there. Getting a closer look at the head sculpt here I wanted for a second to say jungle hunter, because that's very much the vibe that I'm getting when I'm looking at this. I guess in a way it reminds me more closer to Scar Predator, of course, the more silver coloring of his domed helmet. This one has the notable traits of having what I almost feel like is a bit of almost Klingon kind of sculpting that they've got to the top of the head here. Instead of having the more traditional smooth dome, we're actually treated as something that has like kind of scales to it. I really like the way that looks. It's not too much that it defeats. I think it was Chopper Predator had the real ugly looking helmet. I actually don't find this one bad to be at all. It's a really nice looking helmet. It's colored quite well too. It does have still the dreads that come out the sides of its hair. With the AVP Predators, the hair goes everywhere. It gets all into the areas especially when it comes to moving the head. You'll find like the dreads or things that just sort of get more in the way than anything else. I like that they've given a nice long length to it. And each of the individual braids, the little ringlets that they've added in there, have nicely been painted in gold as well. Notably as well with also the AVP Predators is everything armor-wise on these things are all usually silver clad. So everything that's armor on him, his shoulder pads, the little side piece of his armor on his torso, of course the gauntlets and blades, and the side skirting, all is this done in silver plastic or silver paint. One thing I also mentioned for accessories we can talk about right now, it does also come with a removable blade that just holsters onto the side of his leg. It's nice to see that they add these little Easter eggs that when you start looking around the figure, you look at them and you think, hey, can I remove that? And like with the other AVP figures we've looked at before, yeah, you can pull those out if you wanted to. He has all these little bones all over his belt. He has bones across his torso piece as well with a long necklace. The necklace at least is colored pretty low in coloring. It's not super bright. Just to kind of compare things, when we had a look at the Jungle Hunter, we can bring him in again. One of the things I found not to be a deal breaker, but certainly was jarring, was the fact that the bones were so brightly yellow. These ones at least are more of a muted color, and I kind of wish that they could have used this color scheme when it came to the Jungle Hunter. Even like the skull necklace, which is a little harder to kind of see, is right here, is a nice dark color. It doesn't interrupt the color of the rest of the paint. It doesn't ask for attention where you have to look at that and say, oh, it's just a bit more of an eyesore. It's a nice dark color. I like that. The coloring of his body is quite good too. It's not quite a beige. It's got almost an off yellowing coloring to it. You can see on the side, for example, he's got like darker color of brown and all these nice little spotted effects that they've added in there, as well as the meshing. Where they haven't painted actually any additional color, they have also airbrushed. I guess it would be the coloring, but where they haven't added the more stark color, they have nicely airbrushed the areas of its abdomen. Also the section 2, where you can see the abdomen area, the top torso, that of course can be articulated. There's a nice dark coloring of brown right there. I guess it's a bit disrupting. It's not very much a continuation of the same color. Doesn't bother me too much, especially for the size of this figure. Let's talk a little bit about the articulation. I think it's one last time. We'll just spin the figure around so you can see it from the back. I will say, like, the size of the bigger, bulkier AVP Predators kind of look a little ridiculous at times. They look like football players more than anything else. But I gotta say, I like the armor on them. Even though I'm not crazy about how big of a style of size they are, I do like the armor that they actually wear in the movies. Okay, let's talk about the articulation here. Traditional articulation for the Hiya Toys Alien Predators, Alien and Predators. Head rotates, it's on a ball joint. Moves up, and it moves down. You might have missed it there for a second. Let me do it again. Goes up, and it goes down. And you can also rock it back and forth. Of course, it can rotate all the way around. Rotating, of course, is going to bang up against the side of the plasma caster, so be careful of that. And again, you're going to have to contend with all this extra hair. Let's just move it back. That hair is going to be everywhere. The upper torso is on a ball joint, so you can rotate that all the way around. And then further from that, down below at the abdomen area, there's actually a secondary ball joint. Arms can come out comfortably, I would say, at a 90-degree angle bend. Again, of course, take those arms, rotate them forward, rotate them back. There's a swivel at the bicep. There's a single hinge on the elbow. Actually, there's a double hinge on the elbow right there. I don't know why, for some reason, I was thinking it was a single hinge. Double hinge on the elbow. Yeah, double hinges on the knees. As we get to lower legs, lower on the legs do have ball joints, so you can bring those out. You can bring them forward, and you can also bring them back. There's a swivel where that thigh is attached to the ball joint. There's the double hinge on the knee that we were talking about. And then when it gets to his lower leg, this isn't articulated, but certainly this is here. He has a ball joint in the feet, so you can move these back and forth, up and down, and a nice ankle pivot. Of course, peg holes on the undersides of his feet go back then to the idea of talking about the display stand that we mentioned at the beginning of this review. I've really ruined, I think, things by having the hair. See, the hair is everywhere now. Let's just bring the hair back just a little bit. Gonna have to totally fix that. That looks like he's got the wind blowing to the side of it. Nice looking Predator, though. It's going to go well with the rest of my other AVP figures we've been collecting all this time. I just love the idea that we're actually getting AVP Predators as well. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy on his display stand. I would have to go back and watch the movie again, which I don't think is torturing. I actually like AVP and AVPR. AVPR is just way too dark, though. But I almost would have to go back and watch that scene again to see the Predators, because there's more than one, I think, on top of the pyramid. I think they actually have different designs to their helmets, so I would have to go back. It's not just a case where you'd want to pick up more than one of the Temple Guard Predator, unless they do more than one of the Temple Guard Predators, where we have the differently designed helmets. I've got to definitely go back and check that again. But I like really the look of the AVP Temple Guard Predator. Still sticks to the same sort of core idea that the AVP Predators had anyways. Bigger, bulkier bodies, that silver armor. And in the case certainly here of Temple Guard, you've got the extra armory of not only the gauntlet blades on the side, but a much longer plasma caster sitting on his shoulder. Going back and watching that scene again, there are 2 times that we see the Temple Guard Predators at the very beginning of that flashback, where 2 of them are standing on the top of the pyramids while other Yautja ships are landing behind them. And then further in, you also see, of course, the 3 Predators, Temple Guard Predators at the top of the pyramid, now realizing the mistake that they've made and having thousands upon thousands of xenomorphs coming up the side of the pyramid. I don't know if they are the exact same Temple Guard Predators we see at the very beginning of the flashback. In the flashback, we see first 2 Temple Guard Predators, and then we see the 3 at the end. At the beginning, of course, their helmets are slightly different from one another, so kind of going with that idea, Hiya Toys could easily release another couple of Temple Guard Predators. The 2 that we see at the beginning of the flashback scene, and maybe even a 3rd one if we are to assume that they are the same Yautjas at the very end, now realizing again they're dealing with 1,000 xenomorphs. Yeah, they probably could easily release another couple of these. The thing about the packaging, though, is that it only says Temple Guard Predator. It doesn't say 1 or anything to indicate that they're probably planning to do another one. But I think they easily could. I mean, there's enough Predator helmet designs out there, and we already see enough of a close enough glance at them at the beginning of that flashback scene that it is different from the helmet that we get here with this figure. They easily could release another couple of Temple Guard Predators. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. I'd also as well like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide the sample of Temple Guard Predator that we could have a look at in this video. For your video question for today, of the Predators that actually go down to the pyramid in AVP, which one is your favorite? You already know mine. Mine is Celtic or Celtic, depending on how you want to pronounce it. My favorite is that, but which one is your favorite of the Predators that make it down to the planet in AVP? Also, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. You can as well do the service of hitting that bell notification so you get those friendly reminders when new videos are going to be popping up. At the very end also of this video, you may also see a playlist popping up for Hiya Toys that not only covers the territory of predators, aliens, but all the other things that Hiya Toys have been producing over the years. You'll find it all in that playlist. Keep peepers peeled at all times. While we certainly have wrapped up things right now for Temple Guard Predator, there will be, though, more Predator and Alien reviews coming from Hiya Toys in the not-so-distant future. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.